Okay, so moving on, we've just created the leg, the left leg actually, and we'll mirror the leg over at a later stage. So what we'll do is we'll carry on making the skeleton. This time we'll do the spine. Again, the best view I find for the spine is from the side, and let's just put it into wireframe so we can see through the model. I used to create a spine that was curved, very similar to a human spine. I did find that if you do have a curved spine and you wanted to set up an IK spline, which uses a curve, it puts a few little extra rotations on your joints, and I don't like that. I much prefer my rigs to be as watertight as possible, and so I find that the best setup for a spine is to keep it straight up and down, and that's much more sympathetic for an IK spline, or even if you wanted to set up a ribbon kind of twist. It's much more sympathetic if your spine is straight up and down. And the best way to do that is to snap to your grid. So I'll actually make my grid a little bit smaller. So just go to display grid. Let's double the size of the subdivisions. It was 50. Let's put it to 100, just so that we've got a lot more granularity. Okay. Go to skeleton joint tool, and using the X snap, which snaps to grid, I'll roughly create the first hip joint or center of gravity or cog joint, roughly at the kind of, if you can imagine the top of the pelvic bone, roughly about there. So I'll X snap that, and then literally I'm going to X snap where the chest is, which is roughly at the base of the sternum, and that's all you need for the straight up and down. Next is the neck. Now I like to have two neck joints, so one is right at the base, and then the other is kind of mid neck, and then the head joint is roughly sort of at the base of the jaw, just underneath the ear. That's where you want the rotation of the head, and then lastly the head end joint. Okay, and you will see that yep, that's created the spine. Obviously, going back to perspective, that's created it in the front. I'm just going to hide polygons, and again select hierarchy, look at my local rotation axes. Okay, so this time they've all pretty much aligned together apart from the base one. So let's select that and use the Comet Joint Orient tool. Again, we're going to tweak it 90 in the X. So there we go. That's all rotated quite nicely. And literally always for the end joint, Control A and zero out your joint orients, and there you're guaranteed that it will match the parent joint. Okay, so let's bring back the polygons. I can go into wireframe Let's go back into side view. I'm actually going to move it a little bit more central. There we go. And again, that kind of puts the first neck joint a little bit off. So to keep it in the plane, rotate it in the Z, and again you can maneuver it just like the leg, only translate X, again translate X, or rotate Z, and that last joint doesn't really matter, but I always just kind of have it sat outside. Okay, so that's a bit more central, which is what we're after. And again, just as a final check, freeze transforms, and again, the only values on the root are where it sits in the world. So if I zero those translations out, you can see it will sit on the origin. So ultimately that's what those translate values are. And all the child joints should just have translate X. Okay, so that's all working quite nicely. And sort of lastly, let me just turn off local rotation axes and just do a final check. Hierarchy, local rotation axes. Oh, you can actually see how the polygon seems to be kind of muting the icons. So let's hide the polys. Select hierarchy. There we go. Local rotation axes. So yep, they're all aligned. Okay. Turn those off. Right. Okay. So that's the core of the spine, but literally, let's go back. I like to put the chest joint roughly where the sternum, which is the front chest bone, I guess, if you like, and the ribs come off here. So that part of the rib cage is pretty solid, so I like to have the chest joint roughly at the base of the sternum. And then I'm going to put one extra joint in for the belly, and the best tool for that is Jason Schleifer's split joints tool. And literally you select the joint that you want and tell it how many segments. So if I want a joint in the middle, it's 2 segments. So click on OK, and the beauty of this tool is that it splits everything evenly between the 2 joints. So that will put that exactly in the middle, and it just keeps things nice and organized, and keeps all the rotations equal. And there's only translate X on there, so that's all good. Okay, let's name everything. Let's just get rid of that perspective. Again, if you want to expand the joint chain out, wherever you get the plus, you just hold down Shift and click on the plus, and that will expand it all out. So let's call this bind cog underscore JNT. Let's call this bind belly underscore JNT. Bind chest underscore JNT. Bind neck underscore JNT. Bind neck mid JNT. Bind underscore head JNT. So as long as you name the joints meaningfully, then that's all that matters. I do get into the habit of naming as you go, otherwise you'll end up with loads of joints all over the place, and just really name as you go on. I've called this bind head end. It's not part of the skinning, so you know, therefore it won't be included in the search for all joints. Okay, so that's the spine done. Let's file, save scene as. We're in the bind skeleton. Let's call this Frankie 2 and save, and we'll carry on in the next video.